I live. I have survived my first year at college. Hello everyone, I am back. I am alive. I am done with my first year of being at college. And I am on summer break, which means I'm going to be bringing you more consistent uploads so that you can continue to grow in your writing and tell the story that you were born to create. So today I'm going to talk about a topic that has plagued me a lot in the past, more so with my playwriting than with my novel writing, but it's still very, very applicable. So what I'm going to be talking about today is how to tell if your characters are boring and if they're just going to be flat and somebody that your readers just can't connect with. They just don't find them interesting, because if your characters are boring, your reader's going to put the book down. And they're not going to read it because they're not going to care. Because what makes a reader care about the story? Well, it's because they care about the characters and want to see the characters get their goals. So I have three main things to look for in your characters to help you kind of evaluate if there are some changes that need to be made in order for them to not be so boring. So the first thing to look for is if their main character trait is that they are quiet or shy. Now, hear me out. Being quiet or shy is not necessarily a bad thing. It's something that many of us have in real life. The issue is that when that is their main character trait. And the reason for that is because if they're quiet or shy and that's just it, they're not going to feel dimensional and they're going to feel very helpless in the story. Both them as a character will feel helpless and the reader will feel like they're helpless. And if they're not enacting any change in the story, then they're kind of pointless and very flat and very boring because they're not doing anything in the story. They're just existing. So I recommend two different ways. So a couple ideas on how you could potentially fix this issue. If you want their quietness or shyness to be a good thing, for example, you might have where they are very observant, and that's why they're really quiet. It's because they're always noticing things in the scene going on around them. This could even very much be a strength. However, if you were looking for quietness or shyness to be an obstacle that they have to overcome in the story, they might be quiet or shy because they're afraid of rejection, or they have some other fear that they're working to overcome. The issue is not the quietness or the shyness in the character, it's if it's the only thing about them that you ever really give the reader to remember them by. So, first thing, be careful that your characters are not one-dimensionally quiet or shy. The second thing is make sure that your character is not wishy-washy. I know, a very technical literary term, but I like this term because it describes when your character cannot make up their mind about what they believe or what they stand for or what they want. So if your character just has no idea what they want or what they're doing, your reader is not really going to enjoy them because they're going to feel very fickle and very, as there's a verse in James that talks about tossed about like a ship on the waves of the sea. They don't have anything to stand for, therefore they don't really seem to have any good purpose, and that will annoy your readers. So one thing that you can do to take a first punch at this problem is sit down and give your character 3 values that they absolutely will not compromise on. Like, they are their main values. They are what they stand for. They will die on that hill. Those are their things that they firmly believe in. And once you have those things, that will help you shape that character's decisions so that even if there are things that they aren't certain about, for example, maybe they don't know what they want out of life, but they know what they believe about these 3 things about life, that will make them more interesting even as they're discovering what they want in other aspects of their journey, because they know what they believe and what they stand for. And a character who knows what they stand for is a much more interesting character than one who's just like, I don't know anything about anything. Lastly, once you have gone through those first 2 things, the last thing that you're going to want to check for is if your character doesn't have a clear voice. And by voice, I mean the way that they talk, their mannerisms while they talk, and certain expressions that they might use. Don't go over the top with this. You don't want your character to feel like a cartoon, but you do want them to be different from the other characters. And one way that you can really improve this is watch out for too many dialogue tags. So dialogue tags are words like said, declared, shouted, exclaimed, asked, replied. Generally speaking, you want to avoid doing those altogether in your work because they just say how something was done and they don't tell you or show you how it was done. So an example of this was, instead of having where a character speaks something and then there are the words, "she said suspiciously," instead you could just have the dialogue, a period, and then a sentence that says, "she glanced at me suspiciously," or something like that. Avoid having too many dialogue tags with just an adjective stuck at the end, because that's not nearly as vivid as "she glanced over her shoulder," or "she eyed me with a darkness billowing out of her soul." Don't do that. That's too flowery. But you get my point. Make sure that your character has this distinct voice from the rest of the characters, and that in accompaniment with that voice, they are also doing actions that also express what they're feeling, even if they're not necessarily saying it. I hope that these tips were helpful. Trying to create three-dimensional characters that are interesting and will grab your audience's attention is a challenge, but I wholeheartedly believe that with practice, you can do it, and it's just one of those things that comes with time and experience and knowing what to look for. So I hope that this video has gotten you off on the right foot to getting there. Also, quick publishing update, I am currently working on editing my first book Free so that I can re-release it later this summer, along with the sequel to Free, which should be coming out, Lord willing, also this summer. So make sure to stay tuned for that. I'm very excited to finally get these books out together. I know I'd originally planned to do them last summer, but life happened and I just didn't feel like the time was right. I didn't feel like they were ready, and I'm grateful that I didn't publish them yet, because I feel like they're going to be a lot better now that I've had this extra time to work on them. But yes, definitely keep an eye out, and if you have not subscribed to my newsletter, please do so. I will leave a link down in the description. I don't send newsletter emails very often, but when I do, they are important, so you won't want to miss that. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day. Happy writing. Bye-bye.